Welcome back to Level Up, and I'm John Cale. Thank you for taking time today to come back to the podcast. As you can see, we have several guests with us today. We're dealing with a very important discussion. We're going to be dealing with relationships. Let me tell you the actual title today. Guys want, girls want the things that you wish you knew. So if you're here today and you think you have this all figured out with relationships, and you think you know girls, guys, and guys, you think you know girls, you think you know the guys, you think you know the girls. I think after these two episodes that we're going to have, there may be some new things that you're going to walk away with. Okay. So great title today. I have a millennial young lady with me here, Sophia. I also have a young man who's a millennial as well. We'll tell you more about them in just a minute, which is Tony. And I have I'm sorry, that's wrong. Gen Z, Sophia, and a Gen Z, Tony. And the millennial here is this one, okay? Though she looks like she's a Gen Z, she's really a millennial, okay? This is actually my daughter, Whitney, and we'll get to know them just a bit more in a minute. Today, one of the things that we're going to talk about in this episode and the episode that follows, I want you to understand where we're going, because this is really good stuff. There are statistics that are real time right now from the culture, from the market, that we're going to be sharing, as well as a lot of different facts that we found. We're going to look at some current stats. We're going to look at the approach to dating and relationships. We're going to look at your preferences. What is it you're looking for? We're going to look at what happens on a date. What is a date, right? What does that mean to you? We're going to look at social media, how it plays into that. We're also going to look at money and finance when it comes to dating and relationships. Big thing for us, no matter what piece of life we're in, money is a big deal. We're going to look at communication styles and talk about what does communication mean in a relationship? How do friends play into our relationships? And then we're going to talk about intimacy and sex in relationship, right? So this is not a child show. My younger son is not here today. He didn't feel good, but probably wouldn't bring him anyway for this episode. So this is going to be just a real open discussion. And again, this is for you to be able, remember this podcast, Level Up, is a podcast that you can come to and get value from, right? Unlike a lot of the podcasts that are out there where there's entertainment, you'll get some of that here, but really the goal that I have for the podcast is that you come each time and you leave with value, and you have something that can be applied to your life that will help you in your life and maybe save you months, years of wasted time and maybe bad decisions, okay? So, I want to mention to you that you can see our podcast shorts on all social media channels. You can see the podcast by just going to Apple or Spotify, and it's Level Up with John Cale. Also tell you that, we appreciate you liking and following the podcast and following us on social media. And I would ask you to please consider doing that after you hear what we have to say today. So, guys, do you think that you have girls figured out? That's a question for you to think about, right? Tony, I want you to think about that for just a second. Sophia, do you think you have guys figured out, right? Audience, do you think you have the other person figured out? You know, there's so much about relationships that never come out because it's such a web and it deals with so many different parts of our life that sometimes there are things that get uncovered years after people have been together. Maybe you think you know something today about the other person, but is it true, right? Do you really know it, or is it something you thought or believed or was kind of like maybe an urban legend that you just picked up along the way and added to your pack? But did you ever prove it to be true, right? So we're going to dig into that a little bit. Has there ever been a time in your life where you've totally blown up a relationship, where it's just went kaboom, right? And a lot of times that happens because of misunderstanding. And so we're going to talk more about that, but that gives you a little view of where we're going today and in our second episode as well. So let's meet the folks who are with us today. We're going to start right here to my left with Sophia. Sophia is 25 years old. I hope I'm allowed to say that.
Of course.
And Sophia, can you go and just tell us a little bit about yourself, just so the audience knows your background and where you're at in life?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Sophia. 25 years old. I've grown up in Menor, Ohio. I recently just bought a house, a puppy, little dachshund named Bruno. I am in a serious relationship and we bought the house together. So after a lot of trials and tribulations, I would like to say I'm in a great relationship, happy place. And, just comes with growth and just dealing with a lot, going through it. And you got to take the good from the bad and just hopefully apply it to the future.
Awesome. And you are also, Sophia, you're in sales, right?
Yes.
So you work for a pretty big company and you sell services, right? Yes.
So I'm an outside sales rep, which is, it can be tough. It's a great job to have, but at the same time, honestly, I went into it being like, I want to get rid of or do some rejection sensitivity. That's what I wanted to get into. So I feel like long term, it's one of those things where everyone's a little susceptible or sensitive to just a little bit of trials, tribulations, and things not going your way. And I thought, there's no better way than just to get the constant no, to feel okay with the no's of life. And then finally you're going to get a yes. And that yes means so much more than the 20 no's before it.
That is a very cool explanation of sales because that's what I've done my whole life. Yeah. And so we probably should have a show about sales and we should talk about that and let people who are interested in sales understand the concept of how to do it well. But that's a really 100%. Good way that you put that. All right. Thank you. And thanks for coming today and being a part of the podcast. Tony, tell us about you. Tony's 23.
I am 23 years old. I absolutely love sports. I grew up in Aurora, Ohio, played sports my whole life. 3 to 4 years into college, decided it wasn't for me. So I'm kind of betting on myself and seeing where it goes. But I think I'm going to try and get into sales as well. So do you do door-to-door?
So I work with small businesses.
Okay.
So gotcha. A little bit of everything. I still have to cold call. I primarily work with different CPAs referral basis, which makes it a little easier, but at the same time, cold call, you'll always have to do it.
Yeah, right. And I like what you said about the rejection thing. It's just, it teaches you so much. Just that many no's and stuff like that. It's just, you're bound to get a yes eventually. You just got to keep working on it. So you
get less sensitive to it long term, which is the goal. We'll see. Still working on it.
Get better at it. It's all right. It comes in time, just learning and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm trying to get my foot in the door in sales right now. So I'm super excited. Like I said, kind of just betting on myself and seeing where it goes. But
Awesome. Absolutely. Thank you, Tony. Yep. Yeah, we definitely have to talk about sales because that was one of my biggest strengths when I was in my career, when I was young, was opening doors. And back in those days in sales, I digress for just give me 20 seconds, guys, because this was my life, right? Back in those days, it was a telephone and you had to reach people by phone. It wasn't email even, right? And people used to answer their phone, not a cell phone, an actual phone.
Yeah.
Right. With a cord tied to the wall.
Yeah, the landline.
But now it's a whole different world. But the point is that it's all about meeting the need of the customer and trust. Like within just a few seconds of somebody from a sales perspective, they'll look at you and they'll decide whether they like you or not, and they'll shut you off or listen. It's an art. So very cool. We can. I don't want to go there because we'll get lost. We'll have to have another. So this wonderful millennial young lady next to me. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, myself. I am Whitney, and I'm 37, and I am from Northeast Ohio. I have been with my husband for 20 years, married for 12.
That's amazing.
Almost 13, but been together for 20. And I really like him still. I have a daughter who is almost 7. And we, in my life, I've done a variety of different things, done some outside sales, have my real estate license, got my bachelor's from Akron U, but primarily been in retail sales type of environments. And recently, I've had the opportunity, my husband and I, to buy a business. So we now are business owners. So that's new and exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a big step for them. It was a big decision. And it is amazing to me that you just said that you've been with Jeff for 20 years.
I know.
It's crazy. I remember when Whitney told me the first time that she was going to go out with this guy, right? She was 18 years old. She waited till she was 18 years old to tell me this. And she was like, Dad, I really like this guy. And I'm like, okay, cool. Tell me about him. Well, his name's Jeff and this and that. And I'm like, oh, this sounds like a great guy. How old is he? He's 24. What? You're 18. He's 24. Nope, done. This is not happening. You're not allowed to date this guy.
That was a nice talk. Moving on.
And she was like, Dad, I really like this guy. And oh, by the way, I'm 18 now. And she pulled the 18 card on me. And I had to step away, right? And be like, okay. And then we had one more discussion about it. And I remember her saying to me, I can tell you where we were standing in the room next to the furniture. I can tell you the setting. I was looking at her. She was behind the couch. And I was like, Whitney, like, you can't see this guy. This is not going to happen. I've been 24 and you're 18. No. And she was like, Dad, you know what? You've spent your whole time in my lifetime building into me and helping me to understand things. So it's now time for you to trust me.
Smart girl.
And I was like, and I literally heard a voice say, leave her alone. Leave her alone. And I was like, okay. And I met Jeff and I won't spend a lot of time on that, but I knew that Jeff was a good guy. And like I said, at her wedding, when I stood up and made a speech, as a dad, and this all has to do with relationships. So this is good stuff for you to know out there, right? As a dad, you know that your daughter has picked the right person when she leaves the house and you're not worrying about her, because you realize that this guy is going to take care of her the way you would. And that's absolutely true. And it's pretty cool to see that happen. So Whitney, thanks for being here. I know Jeff's at home with Stella.
Yes.
He's got a day of fun-filled activities with a almost 7-year-old girl. So yes. He's just enjoying the heck out of life right now, I'm sure. So anyway, I want to tell you, normally we have a word, guys, that I bring to the podcast for the day, a word for the day. And the word for today is misunderstanding. I think it's very valid and appropriate for what we're talking about. This word, misunderstanding, can cause you to live your life kind of with the wrong direction. If you truly think you understand something in life, right? So we're talking about relationships today, but you think you understand something and you go into life and move on that based on your understanding of it, right? If you're wrong, it's possible that you're going down the wrong route, right? If you're wrong about what you think, you're actually in a way deceiving yourself, right? Because you're making a decision and it's a misunderstood situation. And as a result of that, in a way, you're deceiving yourself. You're in a little situation of self-deception, okay? If you've ever been lost driving, which I have, and my lost can go back before things you guys have experienced when we didn't have GPSs and we didn't have cell phones that told us everywhere to go, right? Just plug it in and go. We had like maps that were this big in a book that opened and you had to study it, or somebody where you were going. Yeah. I remember customer calls when I would call people and be like, okay, our appointment's at this time. Where are you guys located? And they would tell me, and I'd be like, so can you give me directions? Like, yeah, now we don't have to worry about that. So when you get lost, even today, if your GPS jacks up and you get the little thing that goes like this and it's froze, like your phone dies, that's the worst thing in the world, right? If that ever happened to you guys, when your phone doesn't connect and you're in the middle of having to make a decision on your trip and the GPS won't give you the next step because you lost connection with your phone,
it just keeps buffering.
You're pretty screwed.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
I'm directionally impaired. I could never handle that, honestly.
I'm the same way. I need
born in the right generation for GPS. I couldn't handle it without.
Yeah.
Well, 100%. If you've been lost, right, that feeling of, oh my gosh, then you look around and you're like, maybe I think I know, but then all of a sudden you see things and you're like, there is no way that I'm in the place that headed in the direction. It's kind of like that, right, in life, right? This word misunderstanding, it's like that. And sometimes we can go down a road for years, for weeks, for months, and misunderstand and then find out, oh my gosh, I was wrong, right? And I would tell you that's happened to me. I can't tell you how many times, right? I would argue with someone about something and then realize, oh my gosh, I'm wrong, especially with my wife. And she wants me to definitely admit up when that happens that I was wrong. She loves to hear those words. I was wrong.
I bet.
Yeah. Could you say it again? So anyway, misunderstandings are our word for today. Let me give you guys some stats real quick on this concept and this discussion today on relationships. So 75% of Gen Z are single. That's a recent statistic. Okay, 75%. So those are people obviously coming from high school till early 30s. Okay, but that's a lot of people who are still single in that age group.
Oh, yeah.
37% are not dating. Okay, and there is what's called a loneliness epidemic. And this is just blows my mind because we have social media, we have access to anybody anytime we want, right? But the push of a button. And there is a loneliness epidemic happening. People are more lonely today than they've ever been. Doesn't make sense, right? But it's the culture that we're in. And I'm sure we can share and talk about that. On average, 79% of people today getting into relationships meet in person. It's not the on social. It's not an app.
Yeah,
I think
the dating apps, none of those.
Yeah, I think what's happened with the dating apps is that they kind of rose and it like peaked out, and then it was like it's not quite what I thought, and people got hosed and burnt through that.
Well, I think a lot of the dating apps too, they're kind of perceived as like part of like hookup culture. Like if you're running on dating apps, you're not looking for a serious relationship. You're looking for somebody for a one-night stand, honestly. Yeah. And I think a majority of people on there, that's what they do, especially, in college. 90% of the people I ran into had Tinder and stuff like that and like actively used Tinder. And it's like, it's not like they were looking for a girlfriend or looking for a boyfriend. They were actively looking for one-night stands and just, I don't know. I guess just one-night stands. That's kind of all it's used for nowadays. I feel like
there's a difference between the different sites. So I'm like Tinder, okay, hookup culture. But I met my boyfriend on Bumble, actually. So it's one of those things where I think it's healthy and good, especially for anyone to go in and just date. It's not, you're maybe trying to find the one long term, but you're trying to go and meet different people to see what you like, you don't like.
Yeah.
So I feel like that whole aspect of like dating online, it's fun. It's good for people just to go put yourself out there. And in those kind of circumstances, I ended up meeting the one. So sometimes it works.
So you met your current, are you guys engaged or?
Dating.
Okay. So you're dating.
Yep.
So you met him on an app?
I met him on Bumble, which is actually an app where the ladies have to message first.
Okay.
So we matched. I reached out. I said, hello. And right off the rip, he's like, let me take you to dinner. I was like, okay, what do I have to lose? Free dinner? Very worse situation. So we went and he kept pursuing me. I was in a place where I was 2 years single. I wasn't really looking for anything serious. I was living downtown, living my best single girl life with all my girlfriends. And it just came to a point where he kept asking me out to be official. I was like, no, not yet. So I feel like it's a big deal for me because I pretty much date to marry in that kind of circumstance. And one day I was at his apartment and I left a little card underneath his pillow and I said, I'd be an idiot not to date you. Will we actually be serious? And from there, I think it's been 1.5 years and we've been actually serious after seeing each other for quite some time. So it works out sometimes.
That's what I'm talking about.
That is awesome.
So Bumble girls have to message first?
Yeah, so it works is you both go through. It's like you swipe through. If you both match, then the women have to go and message first. And I feel like that kind of takes off a little bit of the hookup culture and a little bit of the sense. But at the same time, I feel like I have a lot of friends that maybe do meet their serious long-term relationships on Bumble, Hinge, some on Tinder, but at the same time, I feel like the thing is, I feel people are now stepping into, if they want to hook up, they're going to sit there and message you, hey, come over that night, not text you, not kind of, as long as you're open and you're actually like communicating what you want. I feel like it's not the worst place to go. It's not a bad route. I feel like it's getting harder and harder every day just to even meet people on the streets. Like I was living downtown, I was meeting people, but didn't work out, obviously. So at this point, you go for whatever is there. And I feel like there was definitely a big uptake in the past 10 years where there's a spike, but there was a bad connotation to online dating. And I even was uncomfortable in the beginning. People would be like, how did you meet? And then I would have to sit there and be like, Bumble. Do I make up a fake story?
Yeah.
Of course not. But at the same time, it's just this bad connotation where it doesn't really necessarily have to be.
Right.
That's really interesting. And I can see the business logic of doing that, starting something like that, because it can take away some of the apprehension that a young lady would have, a girl would want in a date, right? Because you're the way that it has to happen, right? The interaction. Sure. So that's very, very interesting. Let me give you two other stats real quick. 65% of Gen Z views marriage as important. Okay. Now you might say, okay, well, what's that compared to? Well, this is interesting. The millennials, who are the generation right in front of you, right? That stat for them is 39%. So it's interesting that not quite double, but way up there, your generation, 65% view marriage as important versus your generation, which 39% millennials feel that.
That's interesting.
That's shocking. I mean,
I was blown away by that.
You would think it'd be the opposite.
Yes.
I feel like it kind of makes sense in a way of Gen Z or millennials used to be the girl boss generation. I can do it myself. There's a huge uptake from trad wives to then I can do it myself. I'm going to be this businesswoman. I'm going to wear even the fashion sense where they had this moment of wearing suits to the bar. It was this in between. What can I do with this? And it kind of pivoted to now I think this loneliness epidemic kind of points to, and it could be a good thing in a way where it's I'm not dating the first guy I meet. I'm going to sit there, I'm going to wait to find the one. So I'm sure there's some different deviations in there, but I feel like it's not all bad.
Well, I think what you just said goes back to what we talked about that statistics say, right? Mm-hmm. Which is this loneliness situation. I think a lot of people have come through and there's been a lot of hurt and loss because of the way that things were. And your generation is coming on the end of that and realizing it's a little more serious. Like you said, we need to be a little bit more picky and look for something better and bigger, right? And from a depth perspective. So the one last stat is that 56% worry about rejection. There's a big stigma in the generation about being rejected. And I think that ties back to the social strata, right? Of another episode I did was one on identity, right? Understanding who you really are and how do you know that? And there's a difference between your identity and your role, right? Your identity in life is one thing, but your role in life is what you do, right? And so I think the identity issue ties back to why so many people worry because of rejection and what they see on social media and a lot of maybe more surface type engagements with relationships, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
So
and I kind of have another thing to add to that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's mostly guys that worry about rejection. I feel like most of the time it's, that's why I thought it was interesting with the Bumble thing. It's a lot of guys have to approach, girls first, and they have to obviously make the first move, so to speak, start the conversation, I guess not sway them, but engage in a conversation with them and, make something of it. And I think a lot of guys are almost worried that they are going to get rejected. I mean, that 56? 53?
56%. Yeah.
56.
Worry about rejection.
And so when I'm in a bar, for example, I mean, most of the time I'm not approaching a female, and that it's because I am worried about that sense of rejection. It's I'm going to walk up there, I'm going to say something dumb, I'm going to,
sometimes those are the best things. It's when you screw it up, or it's something to laugh about.
Yeah.
It's not always the worst.
Yeah. And it's 20 seconds of bravery. I think it's a Matt Damon quote or something like that. But 20 seconds of bravery, it'll buy you a lifetime of happiness. And genuinely, I mean, I do believe that. I think if you take 20, 30 seconds, just forget about all your worries, forget about that sense of worriness about rejection, whatever it may be, and just kind of turn everything off for a little bit, just engage in conversation, just put yourself out there. I think good things do come of it. And I think making yourself uncomfortable in those situations is a good thing for you to grow and kind of, I guess, just get better at it. Genuinely.
Yep. And I think that it can send, like, I think a lot of times the rejection is that a lot of times the girls are like, not all, but I think many would be like, well, what do you know, I literally remember being in a bar one time and approaching somebody and there were these two ladies and I just was like talking to them, like just, hey, how are you guys doing? You know, just trying to talk to them. And I mean, they were, you know, they weren't like 20-year-olds, right? I mean, they were probably in their 30s or whatever. But the point is, I walked up and I'm like, hey, how you guys doing? What's going on tonight, right? And they were like, yeah, we're on a break. And I'm like, what?
What does that even mean?
What are you talking about?
I'm just saying hi.
I'm like, what? You want a break from what? Work? Like,
right.
I just trying to talk to you, but it's the perception, right?
Yeah.
That they were being approached and they were thinking, oh, you're out here. And
Here's another guy.
You're just coming for this or that, right? And so yeah, it's a very, very real thing. So let's talk about some questions. A lot of good discussion here, and I want to make sure we get through some of these things that are really good things that I think will help folks who are watching and us as well. What are some of the things that you guys are looking for to find the one person for you? Like, what's important? You're there in a relationship, and I don't know that you are yet, but what are the things that you guys are looked for or are looking for, kind of in a nutshell, for the person for you in your life?
Honestly, I think happiness is a big driver for me. If a person makes me happy, then I think that everything kind of falls into place. So as long as, I mean, they have good aspirations in life, I mean, they want to do big things and, you know, they want to stand alongside me and help me, support me, and just make sure that I'm staying on track with my goals and my aspirations and what I want in life, then I think, I think that's a good thing to seek in a partner, someone that pushes you to be better every single day. And I think a lot of people go for looks and not so much personality nowadays, and that kind of takes that out of it almost. They can't really drive them to be a better person.
So according to statistics, it was your generation that went after looks. Millennials would have been more look, you know, like, whoa, I need to date him, right?
Yeah, right.
And so I think what you said a minute ago, Sophia, and the statistics said was that because of this epidemic, right, people are going, hey, this is more serious. So you're looking for these things first. It's not just about, hey, you're hot, you look great, I want, you know, it'd be great to have you with me. Right. It's hey, there's got to be something more. And there's got to be a person behind the smile.
Exactly.
Right? And 100%. A brain, right? That
Well, your guys' generation kind of saw a lot of the fallout, right? Where divorce rates skyrocketed. Family systems were broken. And you know, may be a product of that. A lot of your generation may be products of that, even tail end of mine. So I think you guys said, whoa, like, I don't want this dynamic for my children. I don't want this dynamic in my relationship with my husband or wife. How do I scale up here? Where are the gaps? Like, maybe it shouldn't be all about looks. Maybe it shouldn't be, you know.
Yeah.
Because you were a part of kind of seeing that breakdown rise in kind of the family dynamic, maybe.
Yep. I agree with that.
The divorce rate's up to like 52% now, or something like that, which is insane.
Crazy.
I mean, one in every two
for first marriages.
Wild.
Yeah.
Second marriages,
wild.
It goes up into it goes up.
Oh no,
so 60 some percent, and for third marriages, it's like 80. It's almost 80%. I think.
Because once you're your second, what's another third and fourth?
right.
You would think if you're getting married 3 times, like you would now be a professional marriage person, and
third time's
going to probably
no, you don't have to get married.
You're going to get better. You're going to get better, be more professional. But what that points to, right, which is a whole nother discussion. I'm getting all kinds of ideas for podcasts here. But
too much.
But it's too much. But what that points to is the fact that marriage is a big deal, right? I mean, being together with somebody forever is not simple. I used to counsel people, right? Back when because I used to be a pastor. I used to be in ministry for many years. And I married people. I buried people. And when I used to counsel people back many years ago for marriage, it was very interesting because I would be like, so who's taking the trash out? And they'd be like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, who's going to vacuum? Who's doing the bills? Who's cleaning the bathroom? Who's doing and they're like, well, what do you, I'm like, listen, you guys are going to come together as two complete, I mean, this is the challenge, right? For the ultimate relationship, right? The pinnacle with the crown is I'm marrying you for a life, right? And it's a life decision. That's what we all want. All right. I can tell you that hasn't happened for me. I don't do this podcast and I don't talk about this as a person that, has done all this right, because I haven't. I do this podcast because I haven't. Okay. Because I've walked those roads and I can share information that's real rather than out of a book or what someone told me. But the reality is the pinnacle of it in a relationship with marriage and commitment for life means that these two people that are individual people and personalities with skills and giftings and abilities that are different individuals come together and in essence form one, right? But in forming one, they still have to maintain their own identity. So that's a big deal, right? I mean, I've been married to my wife, Amy, and I make sure to say my wife, Amy, because once in a podcast, I said my current wife, and I've not heard the end of that.
That was the podcast with me, and I definitely knew you said that.
In the middle of the podcast?
Oh, yeah. That one was coming back up.
And it's come up multiple times. I'm your current wife. So, yes. But my wife, Amy, right, even being with Amy now for 20 years, right, I can tell you in the past 2 weeks, there are things that I have found in the relationship with her that I didn't know. And it's a big deal, right? So as you're mentioning that and talking about it, there's a lot to that. Let me ask you guys, what's a red flag for you to pull the plug on a relationship? Like what, for each of you, like what would be a red flag that you're like, I'm out. This is a no brainer. I'm done. Goodbye.
I think a red flag for me would definitely be like, we talked about communication earlier and like how communication needs to be spot on. I think a red flag for me is if I like clearly state my communication, what I need, and those, I guess, like those needs aren't met or they're ignored or disrespected in any regard. I think that's like a major like, hey, we got to sit down. We got to talk about this. We got to like reevaluate what's going on here because like, I don't know. I guess that it just, if that goes on for too long, it creates almost like a divide in the relationship where like, if you're not communicating clearly, then you're not going to be an effective team. I mean, I liked what you said earlier about coming together as one. Two people serve as a cohesive unit. And that's, I mean, for better or for worse, hopefully for better if you found the right one. But I think definitely communication's a big thing. And in order to be an effective unit and to help each other to, I mean, the maximum potential that your relationship can be at, that communication has to be spot on. So I think a big red flag for me is bad communication.
Okay.
Definitely.
He said a key word that is a big deal. And it's interesting because I expect to see that word come from him, and it's respect. Because men are just wired to have respect. Now, there are probably women or girls who are watching this going right now, what the heck? What do you mean? What respect? Losing your mind, okay? Please let me explain. I don't mean that you just like, oh, yes, whatever you want. That's not what I'm saying, right? You have to earn that respect, right?
Yeah, 100%.
You have to reciprocate in a relationship to somebody, right? And treat them in the way that you should so that they and respect who you are as a person. But I think we're just wired. God made us this way to have respect. It's a big thing. I can tell you for me and my wife, if you ask her, if Amy was here and you said to her, what's the one thing that is most important to your husband, to John, she'll tell you respect. I mean, you could ask my son, Denton, who's 15, What's the one he would tell you respect? How many conversations and counseling sessions I've had with him to say, you cannot talk to me this way, right? Respect. So good stuff. How about you? Anything that you want to share on that?
I would say my big thing is if your partner comes home from a tough day, something shitty happened, got a bad phone call, anything in between there, and they come home and then they put it on you. It's just that taking it out on you, I feel like that's the biggest red flag, even in a small scale.
That's really that's good.
You're supposed to be the safe place. And it's like, even sometimes like it's natural to happen. I know I've done it. And then I'm like, I'm the one who preaches this. I can't sit here and be a hypocrite. But it's just then checking yourself and then kind of going back and being like, okay, say you're sorry is where you are, move forward at the same time. This is your safe place. That's your safe person. You have to kind of work through it together.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. And I've heard that from my wife multiple times over the years we've been together.
Your current wife's a smart lady.
Yeah.
Quotes.
Yeah, my current wife.
In quotes, I know you can't see that.
Wonderful. I've heard that a lot. And I will tell you that it's not something I do that happens like I think about like it's your fault, right? It's like you have to remember because you're kind of venting. I think, and this is probably something I think that guys might do more than girls do. I honestly feel this is a guy issue in most cases, maybe except for you.
You're perfect. You're a daughter.
I'm not a guy.
No, I said except for you in most cases, you're a girl. It's definitely something that I agree with you is it takes effort and it takes somebody to point out like yourself to say, hey, look, do you realize the way this is coming across? Because sometimes that's what I need. I need my wife to go, hey, you realize, and I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't understand that. Right?
And I feel like it's a fine line because you also want like to teach men and just even point out it's okay to feel your feelings.
Yeah.
You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be disrespectful. It's okay for you to be upset. It's okay for you to be quiet. Just communicate. And then you don't have to be an ass, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, the discomfort like that men feel when they feel vulnerable, which ultimately goes back to, were you allowed to do that as a child? How did your dad make you feel about that? How did your people in your life make you feel about that? But most men aren't comfortable being vulnerable and feeling weak, right? Because men are strong and want respect and they can handle it and they got it. So if you could just let yourself be honest with your spouse and be vulnerable, then you don't got to be mean. You don't have to displace your frustration.
Right.
You can just talk about, hey, this is how I feel. And I think as women, we're happy to hear that. Yeah. That actually probably makes us feel really good because we like to listen. We like to like create understanding, Yeah. So,
and I feel like piggybacking off what you're saying about how like when they were like children, how did their dad let them feel? I feel like sometimes men don't even know why they're kind of frustrated.
Yes.
So then giving them the moment to actually like articulate their feelings, to like go through it instead of just be like mad, but like, what am I mad at? And even I feel like in my current relationship, I was more of like a reactive person. And he's like, okay, give me a second. Let me think. Very different sides of the brain. So in that kind of like moment, I feel like in the beginning, it gave me anxiety being like, okay, so I just want to talk through it, right? When everything's heightened. Yeah. And now it's like, okay, take a step back. And then I actually have time to think. What? Okay. But it's different. It's just, I feel like it's more healthy. And I just never had that. You don't know what you don't know. I think it's a tagline.
Right.
Right on. That's why we're here. Right.
And you're usually with someone that is the opposite of you. That's what makes a great team is you're the opposite. But boy, if that doesn't take a lot of work to make that team cohesive, because you're the perfect pair because you're opposites, but you're working through a lot of understanding along the way.
100%.
Yeah.
So guys marry their mother and girls marry their dad. Have you ever heard that quote?
Yeah. I've heard that. Luckily, I'm not there.
I mean, not literally, but they marry traits.
There's traits.
Guys will look for the traits in their mom for their spouse, right? And girls will look for traits from their dad and their spouse. So let me ask this question: What are the things that are physical preferences for you guys that are important to you? from a physical perspective? Because look, this is real. I mean, you know, obviously if there's a group of millennial girls in a mall and some dude walks by and, you know, they're going to notice. You know, we were last night at Top Golf with my son and some of his friends. And, you know, we were getting in our car and this group of teenagers walked by and there was a bleach blonde young lady who was tanned nicely, and she was a very pretty young lady. And I observe a lot, okay? And I saw them coming, right? I saw the bleach blonde hair, and I was watching these teenage boys, right? Because she was probably your age, right, or somewhere in that. And I was watching them, like,
the ice,
and then they looked at each other. And then there was some little commentary, right? But my point is, this is a real question, right? We all have physical preferences. So anything you guys want to share on that you feel comfortable sharing?
I am very much single. I don't think I've stated that yet. I just want to state that.
Just want to put that out there.
This is like the intro. If you're this height, this type of hair, call me.
Right.
Message down below.
So you're very much single, but you don't want to be.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm at right now. But honestly, my ex was a brunette, but I'm fully a blonde guy. I'm going to keep it a buck. Blondes are definitely my type.
What color hair does your mom have?
Brunette.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was going to say, is this leaning into it or against?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
He has a bad memory.
A little trauma there. We're not going to talk about that.
Right.
But yeah, probably blonde. Outside of that, no physical attributes really.
Okay.
More of a personality guy myself.
So back to something beyond that.
Something beyond the smile.
If it matches this bucket of personality and my understanding my needs, etc., I can deal with maybe something different than what a lot of people might say. I have to have that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Any comment?
I would say my preferences. I feel like the easiest is like, when you're young, who was your celebrity crush? And I was joking yesterday with girlfriends it was Taylor Lautner from Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Yeah, right.
So it's like one of those things. I like a dark hair Italian guy is like the easy pinnacle of like what I like. But at the same time, most like chicks that I know are all like, 6 foot, 6 figures, 6 inches. So that's 6 rule. But it's like,
oh my gosh, I've not heard that one before.
Yeah.
I've never heard that myself.
It's like height. I feel like for women, a lot of people talk about that, but I've dated all short guys. And I feel like it's done me well. I don't know. It's the lacking in height.
Short guys?
Short guys. Yeah. Short guys, better personality.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I feel like preferences, it's like what you have and then what you got. And it's like, okay, I found my person. Mm-hmm. And that kind of circumstance, it's like everything that I wanted, but I didn't know that's what I wanted. So sometimes it's like, even prior, the ex-boyfriends that I've had, I had the carbon copy of myself. They were always the loud person at the bar. They are so funny. At the same time, now I have like the yin to my yang. Mm-hmm. It's like I didn't know I needed to be enhanced, and just the other part of me that lets me shine versus competing to make the stupid jokes or that kind of stuff. So just kind of funny, full circle, what you end up with. And sometimes it's just, you couldn't have asked for anything better.
Yeah.
Well, I know you, I think if I'm not mistaken, Jeff, like I remember like us having this conversation at some point, blonde hair, blue eyes, right? Am I right?
Apparently I fit into the millennial stereotype of looks, so it's fine.
Am I right?
You're right.
Jeff is exactly what you were, what the kind of looking person.
Yeah, it wasn't like you're this, so you have value, and you're not, so you don't. No. I hung out with other guys and had a lot of guy friends. Actually, most of my friends were guys, and I just tended to gravitate towards blonde hair.
Attraction's important.
Blue eyes.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
Taller. I was the opposite. I was like, I can't be taller. I feel awkward.
I like being like still a little taller. Cause it's like, I still want to feel small and girl. But at the same time, like, it's not a deal breaker. Yeah. Like a lot of women are like, I need that 6 foot minimum.
Oh yeah.
Okay. It takes out half the population.
Right.
If you're sitting there trying to find a good guy.
Yeah.
Well, I think, and I've told Whitney this a lot, most guys don't know what to do with a woman. And I don't use the word big in a wrong term, because I used the word big with her when she was like 17, and she was like, if you ever use that word in a sentence associated with me
woman
again, big. And I don't know what the right word
strong,
is. Strong,
athletic,
a strong, strapping woman.
Beautiful.
My husband also uses the word sturdy. Very strong.
A very
Sturdy is middle ground. That's a little like sometimes I'm like, okay.
So a very strong woman who's 5'10", right?
Yeah.
Most guys might not be 5'10". I mean, or a 6-foot lady, right?
Yes.
And they don't know what to do with all that. Like, I mean, I'm serious. Like, it's like, whoa, that's a lot of woman right there.
It's intimidating.
And it's intimidating.
It's not as
to them.
easy to approach them.
I feel like it's just a societal thing.
Yes.
Like it's not the norm. So seeing it maybe makes it a little harder, but it also comes hand in hand with its security and insecurity. Where it's like, if you like the person, aside from one thing that society deems not right, which it's perfectly fine, it's just you go lean into it or you sit there and turn away, and that could have been the best thing that happened to you.
Now, I will say, to your point, I was not the typical structure physically that my husband thought he desired. So that can spin, because he dated a couple girls and his initial thought was, probably a little bit of a more petite structure, runner, just more meek, different personality profile. His first couple girls he hung out with were
more submissive,
the antonym to me.
more submissive.
I think, no, not submissive. But I think the only thing that we all had in common was blue eyes.
Yeah.
But I am completely different. And he always says, he's like, I just didn't know that I would love this so much. But we have very different, like you said, very different personalities, but they're very complementary.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
it didn't work until it did.
Right. Right.
Agreed.
So let me just share a couple thoughts, and then we're going to wind this episode down and get in, begin to set the pace for episode 2 for everyone to come back. So here's some communication comments, right? So a guy will think that he's clear in his communication when he says, I'm fine. Okay. I'm fine. What he really means by I'm fine is I'll deal with it later. Okay. I'll deal with it later. Right. Yeah. I get it. I hear you, but not right now. I don't want to get into it. Right. Would you?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. I was actually going to mention it earlier when you were talking about tensions being heightened and you want to talk about some, but sometimes it's like, we feel those emotions and we feel that anger kind of boiled up. And it's like, okay, we don't want to talk about it now. Maybe we'll talk about it later. So I think girls, I think just being there when they're struggling or dealing with something and just comforting them just for a little bit. And then they'll eventually crack open, do whatever. But I know I struggle with it. A lot of the time I'm, not the best at sharing my emotions or anything like that, but I've gotten better at it over the years. But sometimes it's just a little bit of time will truly work wonders and avoid hopefully an argument.
I think I totally get that, because I feel like I'm now understanding that, but I don't know, as a woman with anxiety, me sitting there and not knowing those moments are torture. Yeah. So sitting there and just having that stress and be like, can we just get it over with? Are we ready to talk now?
Is he mad at me?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. So even I think you made a point. I don't even think I would think it was very minuscule, but it was the point of comforting the person to know, okay, I'm not mad, but I need a moment. Okay, I feel more comfortable. This isn't the end of the world. I'm overreacting, which I am, but it's just that anxiety that's there that builds up sitting there being like, can we just get over it, work through it?
Yeah.
If it's,
Yep.
And guys definitely need to communicate that as well. If they do need a second, clearly state
you need it.
Hey, I need it. Yeah. Right.
Well, and I think this is a key to good relationship, right? Because girls will tend to assume if they've shared something with you, hey, I'm telling you that I need you to be this or do that, right? And they can assume he was looking at me. He heard what I said. He nodded his head, but he doesn't confirm it to you, right? So then, and this probably plays out, right? Then something happens and you're like, but we talked about this, right? And so what girls need is affirmation, right? It's like, my wife will do this to me. She really will. She'll be like, so what did I just say? Because my brain moves so quickly and I am dealing with so many different categorical things of life constantly and I'm always thinking about ways to do things better. And so I listen, right? But sometimes I think you guys know what I'm talking about. You hear the words, but you're not really listening. There is a difference. Another conversation I've had with my 15-year-old son. There's a difference between hearing and listening, right? Yeah, I hear you. Okay, great. Are you listening? So anyway, I think for girls, right? It's like if you say something to him that's really important, take a minute and have him tell you what you just said, because I think that will help it go a long way.
Yeah.
Right? I think it will really help with that. So, one comment that I want to mention is that guys are typically problem solvers. Okay. And this is kind of, I'm going to wind this down and finish here. And we're going to talk more on the next episode about friendships. We're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about the hookup culture, because I want to talk about that briefly. We mentioned it earlier, okay? And then we're going to talk about sex and intimacy in a relationship. But guys, this is a very pivotal and very important thing, that guys are typically problem solvers. So when a girl comes to you and says, hey, and she just unloads, right, her day, right, not blaming you or being mean to you, but like, and you're like, well, here's the problem, right? You need to do this, and this person and Sally, right? It's like what she's really wanting is for you to shut up and listen, right? They don't if they want advice, at least this is my opinion at this point in my life. If they want advice, they're going to ask you for it, right? As opposed to, like, you're trying to solve all my problems and I just need to unload the bucket of frustration and anxiety that I have right now, right? Mm-hmm. So, because we're naturally problem-solving people. It's the way we were created, to solve problems and make things better and that kind of a thing, right? Girls want empathy, right? They want you to hear what they're saying, try to associate with my feelings, right? Try to think about, if I'm telling you this story about my day today and it just blew up, right? And it's just the worst day of my life, right? Try to put yourself in that position and understand how you would feel if that was your day, right? That's what they want. Am I right? Would you say you want them to understand?
I feel like there's two different levels of it. After a hard day of work, okay, I want to vent, or it's I've been living through it and going on about it all day. Last thing I want to even do is talk about it.
Oh, that's a good point.
But if I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my partner, I feel like it's good to even that partner each way. Guy, girl, you sit there and you're like, okay, do you want to vent, or like, do you want, like, we can talk through it? Yeah. The venting is the cop out, where it's like, just talk at me. Mm-hmm. I'll sit there and I'll be like, you're yeah man, yeah woman. And then the other end is like the problem solver. Sometimes I do want a solution. Sometimes I want their input. I want to like to bounce a ball back and forth. So I just feel like even just making this like comment of turning and being like, hey, are you venting? Do you want to chit chat? Like, how figure that out early in the game, because then you know where you stand.
Yeah, because 100%. If you're not in the, hey, I want you to solve my problem mindset, when they're starting to spit out all of these different solutions and ways you could handle it, that just feels like it's adding to your bucket of like, 100%. Oh, now I need to do this. Oh, now I need to do that. Oh, now I like.
And usually you already thought about all the 20 different ways yourself. So, and that if you're in that place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I have one last thing I want to say before we close down this episode. Tony, how often do you get compliments?
Rarely ever, outside of family, to be honest. Yeah, rarely ever.
Okay. Sophia.
I get some. I don't even know how to say it. It's just one of those things. I go out like on a night out, like women tend to get more compliments just because how we were talking about earlier, it's like men approach the women, either they're hitting on them or it's just, I feel like even on a friend level, I have guy friends that are now learning it's okay to give women compliments and it not to be weird. So I then I go and see my guy friends and they're like, that dress looks amazing. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it's building this relationship and this bond that's not in a weird way, but you have to have that bond prior.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. So compliments are great, but I feel like even in the world, like in past relationships, I don't think I ever gave enough compliments. I never gave enough reaffirmations. Now I'm overcompensating with my partner because I'm like, okay, I see the error of my ways, but I'm going to make sure you know where I stand and that you're great, you're beautiful, you're good looking, all that, things that I get flowers from my boyfriend because what are the things that a guy doesn't get?
Right. So the reason that I end on that is because there's a huge divide there. Okay. Hardly ever. Okay. and you were very modest about, I get them. Okay. And you probably get a lot. Okay. But here's the point. The reason is that it happens differently because of who we are. Right. Guys don't get lots of comments. The girls get lots of comments, but the guys do need to hear them. And this is a misunderstanding. I think that's a big misunderstanding that girls don't know that, you know what, you need to make comments to guys that are positive, right? And tell them your outfit's nice, or you look good, or, you know, gosh, you know, you've been at the gym, or whatever, right?
It only took 25 years for me to learn that.
Right.
And it's one of those moments where it's like, okay, makes sense. But now that I'm in the relationship,
Yes.
most people don't know.
Yeah. And you can see why I asked the question. It's a divide.
Yeah,
there, right?
100%. Yeah.
So listen, we're gonna finish up here episode 1, and hope you'll be back for episode 2, where we're gonna talk about several different things, like I mentioned: friendship, money, sex, and intimacy. We're gonna talk about the hookup culture. I would urge you today, if there's been something that you've heard that just really rung your bell, that you would take that and you would go do something with it before the next episode. When you come to see the next episode, that you would go and do something, maybe put something into play. Remember, unless you take something and apply it and do something with it, it doesn't matter, right? You have to do something with it to see change. So I'm going to point you back to the fact that you can reach us at Talk Level Up and see our YouTube shorts there at that location. Please see our podcast up on Spotify and Apple at Level Up with John Cale, and follow us and like us. We would appreciate that. And I would also tell you some things that are coming. Obviously, episode 2, Guys Want, Girls Want, the Things You Wish You Knew. But next to that, we also are going to be looking at, do I know what I'm really chasing every day? And looking at priorities, right? That's a big deal. Am I just going through life bouncing off of walls, not really understanding what I'm looking for? And then also, we're going to be looking at talking with somebody about cars and that whole debacle of buying a vehicle, and have somebody in here who's an expert that can give information maybe behind the scenes that you don't know. So until next time, please do something with what we've told you today. Remember, you're unique. There's only one you. I'm John, and I'm out.